Why mental health is so crucial than physical health?
The moment I ask how you are pressured to say that you're fine.
3 signs a person should decide that I think this is the place where I have to quit. Why not a friend? Why a therapist?
Any issue that is bothering your sleep, appetite and routine. It can be work-life balance, it can be emotional, it can be behavioral, it can be anxiety, it can be stress.
Welcome to the show, and we'll start with the easiest question. Introduce about yourself.
Hi Arvind, so I'm Karthik. By profession, I'm a chartered accountant and company secretary. I worked for 4 to 5 years in Big Four and then I quit my job and I'm in the mental health space now. We run a company called the Mind & Company where we provide mental health solutions for individuals, schools, corporates, organizations, A to Z of mental health. To put it in simple, you come to us when you're going through tough times in life and you go out when you're happy. So that's what we do.
We all wish to be, yeah.
So, hi Arvind, this is Priya. So, I am a psychologist by profession. I'm a counseling psychologist by profession. So, I started 10 years back. So, it's been 10 years since in the field of mental health. So, I started with Mind & Company as a therapist initially in the starting stage of the Mind & Company in 2020 and all that. Then we started working together and then I took the co-founder position of the company and we started working together. And here we work only to prioritize and normalize mental health. That's what we want everyone to be like going to a gym or going to a theater or having fun. It's okay to go to a therapist. It's okay to take therapy. That's what we're working towards.
Great initiative. So I also read that there are only about 200 odd startups that focuses on mental health. Is that right?
Yes, very much. So if you see pre-COVID, I think the number was much lower. I think you can count like 10 or 20 in India per se. But COVID and post-COVID, every month or every week, you can see a lot of new mental health startups. That's good. It's not like competition. More companies coming into the space widens the awareness about mental health. So that's great to have more companies coming up.
Great to have you both here as well, because
Thank
you are
you.
1 in 200. We are very happy, and that's why I'm super excited for this
Thank you.
episode as well. Let us talk about the business in a bit, but
Yes.
let me focus on the mental health first. What is mental health?
So basically, what is health? The moment I say health, what comes to your mind?
Being at a good state of body, probably not having any disturbance, disorders, discomforts, to be precise.
Okay. The moment I say health, you focus on your body, right? But you all know WHO, right? It's World Health Organization. WHO gives a statement, a definition for health. It's a state of physical, social, and mental well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. This is the definition. So, in that, we completely ignore the emotional or the mental health part itself. The moment I say health, you focus on your body, you eat well, you sleep well, you exercise, you do this, you do that, but nothing for mental health we do. So basically, how my thoughts are, how am I managing my thoughts, how am I able to handle my thoughts, how am I able to handle my emotions, my feelings. These are something that I have to understand when I have to be mentally healthy. So, but in specific, we don't take time to do something for mental health. We don't go for like a therapy. We don't go to a therapy. Like for body, you go to gym. Do you go to a therapist to take care of your mental health? That's how it is. So, mental health is a part of health itself, which we completely ignore. It's a collection of our thoughts, our process, our belief systems, the way we learn, our coping strategies, our emotion, and all that. But mental health is not being as prioritized as any other form of health. It's like more focusing on body and physical needs and all that.
So when you started saying about the health in a holistic way, what I understood is people don't really care about their physical health either, right? They probably do it at a bit later stage than they should have cared about. Why mental health is so crucial than physical health, and when should somebody actually start taking care of it?
See, probably even in a situation that I am not able to take this is overwhelming, is what something that we have to start looking up. Especially, I would say we have to educate children from small to talk about mental health, because the moment you say that you're emotionally not well to your mom or a dad or like to any of your family members as a kid, the second question or the first question that comes in their head is like, you're a kid. Why are you talking about that? You have a long way to go. Yeah, you have a long way to go. But what happens over here is you're shutting the child to talk about the mental health. So what happens? That's how it starts bottling up. There's so many bottles kept in. So the child automatically understands, okay, this is not the topic. I'm not supposed to talk it in like with my parents, or I'm not supposed to talk it out. So they bottle it up. And there's so many bottles kept inside. My first love, first crush, first breakup, that, this and all that. And one day it bursts. When it bursts, then they come for therapy where they're not able to handle it at all. Also, I would say like physical health and mental health are so much associated. There are situations when we say, right, this person will not live because this person has a cancer and she'll pass away in 6 months or 3 months. But still this person has prolonged that timeline. Why? Because we say அவங்களுக்கு willpower is there to live. So that's basically about the mental health. She wants to live. She feels it's fine. It's okay. So she's prolonging. Even the time frame the doctor gives sometimes goes completely different. And vice versa. The person who has a problem, who's not very stable in mental health, and they've been like said like 6 months is your time, they die in 3 months.
They give up on it.
They give up. They know that they don't want to, and they don't want to even work on it, or they don't want to take care of it. So when I was I was working towards cancer patients oncology department for a while. So over there I could see a lot of people who are actually distressed because of the physical health. But mental health is something that they don't know that they have to take care so that this will also improve. So that education is completely not there is what I would say. So as a child itself, you should start educating people. It's normal to take therapy. It's okay to talk to a therapist. It's okay to reach, if there are schools which have school counselors, you can reach your school counselor. It's very normal. Such things, if you normalize there, then a person at 20s or 30s, if they have a problem, they'll reach a psychologist easily. Because in my company, I think the ratio of the clients who are above 50 would be very less.
Yeah, very less. I think you can count in like how many are there.
Okay, I think I just wanted to understand more about that part precisely. People in the previous generations don't really understand the value of mental health. What was their coping mechanism back then? How did they actually go through this whole thing? For example, let's say if a person has a fever, they will reach out to a doctor and get it sorted. That is one way of approaching a disease. But then when they were not aware of a disease like this or disorder like this or discomfort like this is the right word, I guess. How did they cope up with their mental health?
Imagine the same scenario even before the medical industry came into India. How did they cope it up? They believed in God. They did some rituals, some cultural effects, and they share it with their peers. Someone who's gone through this will give an idea. And from that only the physical difficulties, okay. Even if something that like it's even a tooth problem, you ask a friend and the friend easily suggests you to go to a dentist. I had the same thing. But here we don't have people who are able to suggest psychologists because of the stigma.
No, that is the question again. If there is a toothache, they would have probably referred to a friend who went through that pain and got sorted it in a way that person has done it. But how did they actually cope up with the mental health?
You're asking about the previous generation.
Exactly.
So they basically believed a lot in the coping mechanisms of cultural effects. So it's not that they never had any distress. And also talking about distress itself was considered a little shameful in the previous generation. So the moment I ask how you are pressured to say that you're fine. Right? You can't say I'm not fine, I'm okay. And imagine even this generation, we are pressured to say that somehow, probably the earlier generation, they tried covering up a lot of things. They did not want to talk about even the physical. You ask someone who had diabetes in previous generation, they would not be very comfortable to talk about it. You ask someone who has gone through some kind of mental health difficulties or something, they'll try hiding them out of the society. That's how that generation worked. And it's not easy for them to accept that they have their own difficulties. And honestly speaking, the psychologists now are much more younger to them. That's again another barrier for them to go reach them out and get it clarified. So I would say their coping style mostly was talking to like friends or something like that, peers or something. And cultural things, they believe in God. Like Manas Kashtamala, go to a temple and come. That was go to a church and come. That was all a part of their coping mechanism is what I felt.
I would like to add to that. So let me give a small story. So I think your question is like in 1950s, on the time, how did people deal with this, correct?
Even till 1980s.
1980s, okay.
90s.
Yeah.
Probably.
Till
40.
2020.
So now question kekran. So let's say in 1950, did we have traffic signals?
I don't think so.
We didn't have, because there were no cars, correct? So we have solutions only when problems existed. So on the same lines, let me tell you, today when I'm traveling in a train, if it's a 6 hours journey, people don't talk to their neighbors. We're all on our phones, right? So I think today is a digital world. Like even if you're traveling in a train or a flight, we just talk to ourselves. You don't even know who's sitting next to you. And even a family, I think today we're all living in a more isolated nuclear families. So it's a small family. But in those days, it was a joint family. We all used to live together. So people talk. So let's say if there are 10 things piling up on my head, and if I put everything in my head, after some time, one day I will lose control over it. But those days, people used to talk to their grandparents, talk to their cousins. So that itself used to be a little therapeutic, and it used to help. So as society, the system kept changing. When people kept it with themselves, the problem came in. And when the problem came in, that's how the mental health became more popular. And now we have a solution of therapy.
Was internet a big player in this?
Without a doubt.
Definitely,
So
internet was a big player in terms of awareness and all that. Definitely, I would say internet has also played a lot of negative role in terms of mental health, because first thing, they don't know whom to approach. There are so many people calling themselves as psychologists, giving motivational speakers, a life coach, a lot of other people who take care of the mental health industry, which is actually confusing people more. Like they are not able to know, they're not able to get where they have to reach, whom they have to reach. And there are so many mental health professionals who are actually licensed proper professionals who are not able to reach the clients, or the clients are not able to reach them because of this marketing strategies that people use and all that. So in Mind and Company, we make sure that all our therapists are people who are valid by the Indian government to practice. So Indian government allows only 4 mental health professionals. That is the psychiatrist, the clinical psychologists, the psychiatric social workers, and psychiatric nurses. They are called as the mental health professionals. So as Karthik said, situational and behavioral issues or behavioral factors are something that leads to behavioral issues. So behavioral health professionals are counseling psychologists. So any psychologist comes under the behavioral health issues. So as Karthik said, like there's so many people, so many things. Like in the previous generation, there were friends, there were family, there were a lot of people connection and all that, which was an environmental cause that helped in mental health. But more than that, there was also few causes of neurochemical change in the brain. So you have all this, you don't have all this, still your brain has neurochemicals that can change and cause a lot of difficulties. So you have any neurochemical change, that is when you have to go to a psychiatrist. So it leads to depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar, or any other mental illness that has to be treated with medication. So they have to immediately reach out to a psychiatrist. So any problems in terms of work pressure, in terms of relationship, in terms of adjustments difficulties, or in terms of emotional pressures, I'm not able to vent it out, I'm not able to talk it out, or someone is dominating me too much, I'm not able to take that up. So they are supposed to go to a behavioral health professional who is a counseling psychologist. That's when it gets clarified over there.
You were saying that internet played a part in the increased number of discomfort in terms of mental health, right? So in current generation, what kind of people do you observe on daily basis? Who do you really think that, do you have a profession, or can you point a profession and say that these set of professions really go through a lot of stress in their work? Do you have something like that?
See, I have come across a lot of people from the corporate industries coming out for mental
Any
health.
particular profession?
like someone like top 3, like which are the top 3 industries?
Probably.
I think Priya will be best to tell that.
I think the first would be someone in IT.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, because one thing over there is stress. Another thing is the awareness of these people are more. Okay, so they reach out. I wouldn't say they are the only people who have mental health issues or they're going through behavioral health issues, but they are aware that they have to reach a psychologist. So that's something really nice about them. Second, I would say college professionals, college or school,
Students.
or like we
The
can call them
teachers.
students.
Students.
Sorry,
Okay.
I sorry.
Students.
It's like students. Students are also more aware of things. And then it was like mixed of many professionals together is what I would say. I would say even doctors come out for therapy to us. They have they're like people who are like from the government sector, like from the big professional thing, they come reach out that therapy and all that. So I would say the top would be the IT sector.
IT students, and we can also add their issues could
Yeah.
revolve around relationship.
Exactly. It's not that
Okay.
work-life balance alone. It
Yeah.
revolves around the relationship, the marriage, the pre-marital counseling, post-marital counseling, a lot of things involved together.
So when you started saying about students, they also come because of the educational pressure that they have with them, right? That
Yes.
was, stuffed into their throat.
Yeah, so the problem here is our educational system, or the way we actually look at education, is completely different from how it has to be seen. So the child is tuned to say that he or she wants to become a doctor or an engineer or whatever the parents are aware of. They instill into the child at 1 or 2 or 3, and as you grow, like when you were a child, what did you want to become?
Doctor.
Ah,
Yeah, but
Where
yeah.
did that come from? Because that was a few profession that you knew, right? So when you were in your 6th standard, what did you want to become?
I think I wanted to become a doctor from there to
Okay.
till the time I didn't become a doctor.
So it keeps changing because like we're not aware of other professions. And so we talk a lot about need, we talk a lot about things. Why is that happening? Because of the fixation of the child that is like, no, I want to become a doctor. So what if you don't become a doctor? That ease is never given to the child. So what if you don't become an engineer? So what if you don't become a chartered accountant? We all talk a lot about NEET, but we don't talk about the CA profession as such because it's a longer journey, and it also, I think Karthik will know more about how this
I
actually...
know where this is coming from. So I just wanted to ask the next question, Karthik. You were a CA by profession, and then you decided to quit that, and then you started a company that is associated with stress. Was there a relationship between these two events, or was it more coincidental?
I would say mix of both. I'll just put it like a story. So let me go back to my CA study days. I still remember this incident very vividly in my memory. So 2013 May, before my first attempt, my first initial exams, I prepared 9 months day in, day out. Every day, wake up, study, sleep, eat. That's it. That was a circle. And day before the exam, I broke down. I broke down in my house in the room. That's saying I'm not going to write this exam. I was so scared to write it. There was so much to study. I broke down to my parents and they were like, it's okay, don't write if you don't want to write. But still I went and attended the exam and the exam got over. Thankfully I cleared. But I remember that day. Then going forward, I moved into my articleship. It's a process where you go and work with a qualified CA. It's a training period. That's a place where it's with so much of stress, especially in the deadline periods where you work day in, day out. I went through that, and not just me, I saw everybody around me going through that. Then come to post-qualification scenario where I was getting a good paycheck in one of the big companies. We call it Big Four, working in Big Four. And then there, when I started talking to people, everybody were getting good paychecks, but nobody was actually happy. So we are CAs, we went through so much, and people kept telling how like after you finish your 10th boards, life will be sorted. After 12 boards, life is sorted. I thought after CA, life is sorted, but life just started after CA. So money was coming in, but we weren't happy. What's the point? Like I was not happy waking up on a Monday morning and going to work, even though I was getting paid in lakhs. And my friends or my colleagues were also going through the same thing. And that's how, and that's when I got exposed to something called therapy, and you can deal with your emotions. So I tried therapy around COVID first wave or something, and that completely changed my life. So I decided do things that make you happy, and then therapy changed my life. So I thought, why not take this and move into this field? That's how the Mind and Company started. So I quit my job, started the Mind and Company, and then that's it. That's how the 3 years went.
Could you please tell us about the day that you decided to do this? What are the emotions that you went through? How was the scenario?
So I haven't actually opened about this anywhere else. It was in August 2020, COVID first wave. I was in a company, I don't want to name it, pretty big company. I was fired from my job. So I haven't told about it. I was fired from my job because I did not perform well. So I didn't perform well, not because I was not capable of performing. I didn't like to perform in that. It's not the fault of the company. It's my fault. So corporate job wasn't my cup of tea, and I believed, or I realized later, that I didn't fit in that role. It was my fault, and that wasn't my thing. Or I couldn't cope to work there for the next 20 years and work for the money. That's when I quit my job. I had nothing on paper. I quit my job, got the last salary. In August was my notice period. I was going to therapy that time, and that's when I realized, okay, why not we go and like, why not we spread awareness about mental health? Because nobody knew what therapy or mental health is. I couldn't go tell my parents I'm taking therapy. In fact, my parents will be seeing this now, that okay, I took therapy. So that's about it. So that's how the company started.
Why were you not happy doing your job? Because I know you would have chosen this profession by a lot of interest, and you went through a lot to become the profession. But then why were you not happy?
I'm not very far away from CA. I am still closely linked to the community of CA as such. I take classes for CA students even today. So I'm still in touch with the subject, and the job is good. Like I still tell people to take job, but I tell them one thing: take something you enjoy doing. So for me now today, when I work on a Sunday or a Monday or even on a Wednesday, it feels the same. I'm happy doing it. So someone told me once, which hit me, one of my therapists said, there's no such thing as work-life balance. Work and life is, work is part of your life if you start enjoying it. Like, do you feel the stress when you watch a cricket match? No. Do you feel the difficulty when you watch, like, let's say a movie? No. When I wake up at 5 a.m. to go to play a cricket match, even if I sleep at 2 in the night, I'm very fresh because I enjoy doing that. But I personally did not enjoy doing the work because for me, I felt it was monotonous. The work or the industry I was in, the work was repetitive, was monotonous. It was challenging, of course, but it was repetitive, monotonous, Monday to Friday. Didn't sit into me. I wouldn't blame the system as such. I believed I don't fit into that. So that's when I felt, okay, this is not a thing.
Was it more impulsive, or you went through a lot or you took a lot of time to arrive upon the decision?
It took some time. I did take some time. It wasn't impulsive, but it took some time, but I'm glad it happened.
Can you name 3 signs that a person should decide that, yeah, I think this is the place where I have to quit, or I have to think about a different phase?
So if somebody is planning to do something like this, right, then it's a different ball game altogether. So if you plan to get into entrepreneurship or start a company, then you decide what you want to do, save up enough money, slowly start the company and slowly shift from your job and come into this. But in my case, it wasn't planned. So I quit my job and then started this. So 3 things, if you say what people should think about, is one is family support, because I wouldn't have done this if there was no family support. That's very important. If family support was not there, I would have still been in the job because there was nowhere to go for me. Second thing is, let's say, like your knowledge about entrepreneurship is very important. Your grassroots level education, how do you go from 0 to 1 is very important. Thankfully, CA was helping me in that because CA is all about auditing a business. So I learned a business from in and out. So now I know how to run a business. So CA was helpful. And thirdly, I think it just happened. I think little bit of luck. I mean, people say luck doesn't matter, but I think the stars have to be aligned on your side. Little bit. Yeah.
So I am more interested to know what are the signs. Probably I'll use a different word. Flags to decide that this is not my area.
So from the mental health point of view, I would like to add on something over here. So if your appetite, your sleep,
got it like that,
and your daily routine is being disturbed because of your work, then it's a big red flag.
Very much.
You first have to think about your mental health, physical health, and all that. If all these, see, for example, if a person is very stressful at work, he comes home and he thinks about it. His sleep disturbs, and he doesn't eat on time. Everything gets skipped. And his daily routine of he going for a walk or spending time with the family or whatever is also reducing. And to everyone, he's showing an emotion of anger or distress or unhappiness. So if these are going to be there, these 3 things are like observable, then I think that's where you have to stop.
Like people around you are worried about you.
Exactly.
So becoming an entrepreneur, was it your plan before, or was it because you went through this journey?
It was always on my plan because my dad and my granddad have been in entrepreneurship space, but on a low scale. Like they're into more traditional businesses, like running like in the pharma line. So it was in my plan to do it, to do something in entrepreneurship, but the plan was not to do it now. I thought save up enough capital for 5-10 years, let me slog, get some capital, then do something. But this happened much earlier than I planned.
So if not that particular incident or the set of incidents, when do you think that you would have become an entrepreneur, and what would be the use the domain that you have selected?
So I would have gone into entrepreneurship in the restaurant business. I always wanted to open a restaurant. So maybe I would have earned enough capital and gone into it a few years from now. But now I'm not going to do it because restaurant is super competitive and I don't think I can do it.
Okay. So I also wanted to understand a bit more thing. You started saying how should one approach to become an entrepreneur, like have a capital, see whether you have a family support or not. So if I have to become an entrepreneur, if I'm planning or thinking to become an entrepreneur, what are the things that I should see before becoming an entrepreneur?
So I think today the ecosystem is so supportive. Like today, if I would say, even if family support is not there to the fullest extent, you still can become an entrepreneur. There are so many services or tools available for you to start up, which is available for free. So which wasn't there pre-COVID or sort of COVID, or maybe it was there, I wasn't aware, but today I'm aware that there are so many tools and incubation centers across the country which provide. So all that matters is, do you have the dedication and you have a good idea, then it's about execution. So if you can go execute, I think the support is there immensely across.
Do you think that getting your hands dirt might help a bit instead of trying to plan, because overthinking might kill it, right?
I think it's better to do something than to think about doing something. So getting your hands dirty is very important.
Tell us about the Mind & Company a bit more. What are the services that you offer, and who are your target audience?
So the Mind & Company provides predominantly therapy solutions for individuals who need emotional well-being support. So anybody going through a breakup or let's say work-life balance, or some kind of stress. Need not be extreme, it could be basic. So for me, example, for myself, before I got married, I was little doubtful. So I went and spoke to a therapist, I got more clarity. Before I had my first kid, I was little doubtful, is this the right time? So I went and spoke to a therapist, I got more clarity. So it's not like therapy is only for extreme issues, even for basic routine day-to-day things, you can get it clarified. Like how you have a nutritionist, you talk to them as to, can I eat this or can I eat that? Sometimes it's good to have a non-judgmental person. So we provide one-to-one therapy solutions to individuals, could be anybody. And then on the organization front, we provide mental health wellness packages for schools, colleges, and corporates. In schools and colleges, we mainly provide grassroots level awareness sessions because schools and colleges are still not ready to take in mental health as a curriculum into them. But corporates, we provide end-to-end mental health solutions like workshops, like psychometric tests, and all of that. That's what we do for corporates.
So I have a very curious question here, and I want you both to
Yes.
handle from your standpoint. You're from a psychologist
Mental
standpoint, and
Yeah.
you're from a very layman standpoint. You started saying that you went through a phase and
Yeah.
you went to a therapist, got it better at
Got
that
it
point
better,
in time,
yeah.
and then you moved on. Why didn't you have a friend or a mentor or a well-wisher to do that? And is it becoming more prevalent in the current gen to miss out a friend who might give you a better therapy compared to a professional? I'm not taking on your profession at all, but just trying to understand why not a friend, why a professional therapist?
Basically, a friend is a friend, a therapist is a therapist. So that's where it comes from, right?
Mhm.
So a friend will be empathetic, the friend will understand, and friends sometimes also gives you nice ideas
Mhm.
and all that. But therapist is a person who's completely non-judgmental in basis of whatever you do. And I would say there is stigma over here for men to even open up to their own friends at some point
Mhm.
because they are scared, and our culture has been modified them not to cry because they are men, they cannot cry, they cannot open up. But for women, it's not that way. They cry easily, they vent it out easily. So in that point, when you go talk to a friend, how comfortable are you to talk about your problems to a guy friend and a girlfriend?
Mhm.
I'm asking.
No, again, I'm very curious about this. Let us have a deep conversation. I have a bunch of friends whom I'm very close with. So whenever I used to feel some kind of blockage in my life, I'll go talk to them. But that have also evolved over the years, right? At the age of 20, 22, I might feel much more comfortable doing that. But I don't think I'm my friend might be watching this, but yeah, I don't still feel comfortable doing that at the age of 30. So what exactly happened? Is there a friction in friendship?
It's definitely not a friction in friendship. You still follow the same equation, you still follow the same companion and all that. But the problem is you are much more aware now than a friend. Obviously, then a therapist will be a little more helpful. So probably your friend is also a person who's about your age, at 20s, at 18s. So you do something, you get caught at home, you don't know how to handle, you go ask your friend. Your friend gives some ideas from his experience. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it backfires also. Right? So when you come to therapy, I wouldn't say it is going to backfire drastically for you, but at least you get an understanding of experimenting things and getting into a little more clarity. So definitely a friend is required. Definitely a mentor is required. Definitely all other relationships are required. I wouldn't say it's like you ignore all that, get into a therapy. No, all that is required. But to handle an emotional difficulty, there's someone who's trained as a professional to just do that. Right? So your emotions can be empathized by your friend. Your emotions can be understood by your mentor. But how do you solve it? How do you overcome it? So they talk about their experience in whatever it is. But therapist talks from the theory point of view. They understand why you're going through this. They understand what is actually a rigid point where you're not able to think beyond. And they come up with situations where they have also seen other cases in the past. So when they are able to self-share their experiences or they talk about their experience and all that, you get a little more comfortable over there. And then you think, okay, being into a therapy would be much more better. And that problem you need not even talk to your friend about that problem. And over here, it's a most confidential space, but you might not know that your friend or whatever. And here we are non-judgmental completely. Whoever comes to therapy is our client. Even if a person who is totally antisocial and doing something out of the control, also is our client, and we have to do therapy for them.
Mm.
So over here it's that way. But in friend or mentor or family, sometimes you might think, what is he going to talk about me later?
Mm.
What is he going to think about me later? But that is much more comfortable here.
Can we take it as like as we grow, we are more hesitant to discuss our problems with our peers, our friends,
Very much.
family?
So Priya told from a psychologist point of view, but me as an individual, I've seen it happen. In your early 20s, I've had so many friends.
Mm.
But as you keep growing older, you will have the circle keeps getting smaller. But even if the circle is small, there are a few things you're not comfortable to share with them. Not everything. Like, what if they're going through something similar? How much can we share to them? Like, they'll be like, daily adhe solra. Get like it'll be fine. சரியாகும் பரவாயில்ல. So it's like when I have a fever, friend little dolo podu. But if fever is there for 1 whole month, I can't keep putting dolo on, and you have to go to an expert who can help you come out of it.
Mm.
So for me personally, I still share with my friends, but over the time, like going to a therapist helped me come out of it better. So friends are like not just for sharing like these stuff, like it's overall it's like you're right. As time keeps going up, sometimes the comfort level drops, and that non-judgmental space is very important.
Mm.
Also, therapy is basically not only if you have problems, you should come and meet a psychologist. See, for example, I do have clients who are performing well, who are at like good mental health space. They say they come to me just for the career assessment. They say, ma'am, I don't want to talk about my emotions or relationships, anything here. I am into this profession. I am not satisfied in what I'm doing. So I would like to know where my potential stands. So that's when we do a career assessment for this person. So need not be you have to come to a therapist only if you have a problem.
Mm.
Are you right? Are you going on the right track? Are my potentials okay? I had a client 3 months back who just came and said, I'm all fine. I just came to check if my mental health is okay. All this is okay. I just wanted to see if everything is fine. I said, yeah, you're absolutely fine. And if you require help, you can anytime come reach out and follow up. So like for every client, what we do is the first session would be case history taking.
Mm.
So I would make the client talk a lot in the first session. So she was telling everything which she went through and all that. I never found any kind of clues that she's going through some difficulty. And she was actually very aware of what she's doing, her process of emotions, thinking and all that. So then I asked, okay, what? And after the case history taking only, I come to a conclusion asking them like, what made you seek therapy today? That's when they start the problem. But this one, the moment I asked, what made you seek therapy? She said, I just want to check if I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any problem as such. I just wanted to see. I wish the whole country becomes that way.
Started thinking this because she was having nothing problem to her face. I'm trying to. She didn't have a problem. That's why she started thinking, overthinking that, is it a problem for me?
No, it's again fine. It's okay to do a checkup. No, you go for a master health checkup after 50, even if you don't have anything, right? But that's normal. But you don't go to a mental health profession to check how my thoughts are going on. It's absolutely normal. It's not that she doesn't have a problem, so she's trying to find
I'm just trying to understand from her perspective. Why did she seek out to check with you whether she is doing fine?
Because she's more aware of her thought process. She's more aware of everything. And she wants to see if everything is fine for her.
Nice. So, tell us about things that someone has to really, or when should someone seek therapy? Because as you started saying, a lot of people associate mental health and therapy with only negative connotations. If I'm suffering something, I'll seek therapy. But what are the other situations that a person can seek a therapy? See,
first, the problem itself is the awareness that you have about therapy. Okay, so therapy or counseling or a mental health professional, you going for seeking a help from a mental health profession, doesn't require that you should be abnormal. First, that abnormal, okay, the moment you say I'm going and meeting a psychologist, people look at you in a different way. Oh, what is happening to him? Why is he going to a psychologist? The moment they look at you, it would be like as if you're going to come and bite them next. That's how they imagine. So that's definitely not. See, everyone has emotional difficulties. Everyone go through relationship difficulties. Everyone has breakup. Everyone has academic pressure, job pressure, all this. So all these need to be sorted out when you see a mental health professional. For example, even as I told career assessment, if I am not enjoying my job, I can see a therapist to see if my career is fine, if I'm falling in the correct profession, and is that okay. You see a lot of people shifting jobs. They keep shifting from marketing to software to admin to this to that. They suddenly do one course and they start something completely new. There's a lot of people who do engineering, discontinue, and then do psychology. A lot of other things I see in day-to-day profession because their career assessments were not done properly. So they did not know where to go. And in terms of relationship, also, I would say it's more of taking our culture is like we associate emotions to ourselves a lot. My life has become this way. I don't have a choice. It's my fate. This
Putting
is how it's going
ourselves
to,
in the center of the
putting
universe.
it on myself and blaming myself where my self-esteem and self-belief goes down. So when I keep putting that on me again and again and again, I find it normal. But imagine today, it's not that way. You have a problem. And also they think like, okay, if I go to a therapist, I would be like divorced or I would break it out. So over there, I have to tell them that you don't have to really break up this relationship. You can work on this. These are certain flags that I see. Try working on these. I ask them itself, what are the red flags that you saw initially but you ignored? So that is when they start talking about, that is the problem. When your emotions are working, your intelligence doesn't work. When your intelligence are working, your emotion doesn't work. So that's why they don't initially in that attraction or the interest that they have of this opposite person, they ignore the red flags. The moment they start understanding the red flags, that's when they realize, okay, this is not working out. So any issue that is bothering your sleep, appetite, and routine, it can be work-life balance, it can be emotional, it can be behavioral, it can be anxiety, it can be stress, please go to a therapist. So I would say here, anxiety and depression are clinical terms. It has to be dealt with a clinical psychologist. So we have a team of clinical psychologists in my company. So we see a case, like for example, someone comes with an anxiety. We try giving them exercises, and we know after 2-3 sessions, this is not going to work out with exercise. We push to a clinical psychologist. So in that terms also, we try helping out. We also have in-house psychiatrists.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Priya. Like, to answer that question, can I say like everybody goes through highs and lows in life? Everybody. So if your lows is there, we try to come back to high when you're on low. But if that low is there for a repetitive period of time, for a long time, that's when a therapist can help you go back there. Can I say that? Can I put it like that?
It can be said that way, Karthik. But if your low is a problem which is a neurochemical change, then therapist cannot help. A psychiatrist should help.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
That depends.
That
The low,
depends.
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So seeking help might be
when
the
the-
right category for this
if
one.
you go low, you can seek help. And that's what we said. Necessarily, you don't have to fall down also.
Correct.
In the process itself, if
Exactly.
you understand
Understand.
that you're going to fall in a while, then you please seek someone.
And sometimes, again, correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes people when they're in the high also take therapy, right?
Definitely. Highly performing people, highly potential people.
Keep
They
taking
do come
therapy.
for therapy.
Why do they do that?
When you go to a gym, let's say I want to get a six-pack. Do I stop going to the gym after you get a six-pack? You keep going to the gym to maintain that. So I went to the high, let's say therapy helped me go there. I still want to keep going to therapy because I want to maintain that. So I still take therapy, but I don't take it weekly once because initially it needed weekly once. Now I take it once in few months. But at the overall point, at one point you have to stop taking therapy. Like, is that...
That's fine.
When is
So
that
the problem here is the moment they say therapy, they want magic to be done in one session, which is not possible. For one session, it will take only to understand what you're going through. And even one session is not enough. So the client will come up with some difficult situations in the first session, which is bothering them just right away. Okay, so we take all that, we keep understanding all that, and then we start working on the client slowly. So initially, the client might take weekly once. Then we have to make it once in 2 weeks. Because if the client is 30 years of age, the client has his personality which was formed at 18 years. And he has a lot of learning and behavioral difficulties that he has from his childhood. All that cannot be corrected immediately at 30, right? So he has to understand where he comes from. The root has to be corrected. There has to be like a lot of follow-ups and all that. If the client is consistently following up, then probably the growth will be seen. That is when the growth will be seen. So for example, 30 years, this client he's coming consistently for follow-up once a week. So initially we suggest once a week or twice a week or thrice a week, intensity of the problem, intensity of the client, all that matters. And also sometimes client asks every day also. We have something called subscription where we have like 30-day package and the client can like every day talk to a therapist. But most of them don't.
Yeah, we don't suggest that also.
We don't suggest that also. It becomes dependency.
Yeah, the idea is you come to therapy, you're getting dependent with the therapist, but the idea is to make you independent.
Exactly. Finally, if I'm following up, I still have clients who follow up with me for 8 years, 9 years and all that. But that is not like they come every day to me.
once in a few
once
months.
in 6 months,
Yeah.
once in a year, they come, hi Priya, this is what is happening in my life, this is how it's going, I'm able to help, get helped here, and suddenly this happened, how do I cope up? So the life we live is going to be with a lot of problems, right? We cannot say like all the coping strategies can be learned in 3 months of therapy. There might be a new problem which arises where I might not know how to cope up with it. So I go back to my therapist, discuss about the coping strategy, or sometimes I cope it up by myself also. That is there. So when I am performing well, I am good, I am fine, I just go for follow-up to see the checkup. Like, is it everything okay? Is that everything fine? This is how it's going. Or something newly came up, this is how I handled it. Is that okay? So we do that. The follow-up is very important in terms of therapy. And that's what the awareness about therapy itself is coming now. No, the awareness about follow-up also has to be given more.
Yeah.